Sorry about that. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Greater Cincinnati Dems. We see each other often throughout the neighborhoods, communities, and events that are going on, and it's really exciting when I see you all, like your long-lost friends. I'm Katie Hoffman, and I'm responsible for the speakers, which is a challenge from time to time. You know, you email, you call, you email, you call, you email, you call, and eventually somebody will call you back, eventually. So today we have someone from the Children's Services Levy Speakers Bureau, and then we have Lesley Jones is going to be speaking to us about basically get out the vote. You know, this is what we need to do, because on Labor Day out at Coney Island, Jerry Springer said something very important. He said, if we do not do this now, we can forget 2020. It's really serious. This is probably one of the most important elections in my entire lifetime. I look at the future for my grandchildren in Ohio and in America, and it doesn't look good unless we start taking back the White House. So next week, and hopefully the week after that, we're going to have two speakers. One next week will be pro issue 1, and the following week con issue 1. So so that you get both sides of things there. And I know Mike has asked that we see both sides of this so that we think this through. And I know many people in this group have passed petitions around. The basis of issue 1 came out of the children living in poverty, and one of the biggest reasons that they found that children were living in poverty was the amount of incarcerations of their parents for drug offenses. So that is why I think Amos has been very active in searching for a solution to that problem. That would be to change the law on the high bonds and all that stuff. There are those that are going to be opposed to it, and that is because we have for-profit prisons, and they make money with the slave labor that are our prisoners. That's slave labor. They get paid for nothing, but yet businesses are coming in left and right and getting goods and services made for nothing. It's slave labor. And so there are those that want to continue making money off of the prisons. So you got to understand both sides of these issues. There's lots of issues here on issue 1, and that's the basis of where we came from in.
Hear about the private prisons. Why do we need to hear that side?
Is that there are those out there that are opposed. Wait a minute, please. There are opposed to issue 1, and that's because those who are profiting from issue 1. That's right.
Actually, there's more than that opposed.
Oh, I understand
There are people opposed because they believe the way it's written, it's not very clear on what happens to the money that's. You need to listen to both sides.
That's
you
right.
really do. It isn't
That's
just
right.
for-profit prisons versus poor prisoners. It's more than that. I personally am supporting it, but I have listened to both sides, and I think it's important that you do.
Yeah. Well, both sides are very important, because I know the Ohio Bar Association has taken a position against.
Whoa. Where's their money?
So, next week, issue 1 pro, following week, issue 1 con. On the 23rd, we will have Julie Heath from the UC Economics Center, and she will be talking about the Republican policies that are being done in Washington now and how they're affecting our economy and the disastrous effects it could possibly have. So that's what we have in the next 3 weeks. So hopefully we'll gather some information. Is the speaker from the Children's Services Levy here yet? Okay, so I will look out for her. So Alberta, are you ready to take over? She's in the back?
Here.
She's here.
I know where the bathroom is.
It's across the hall.
Yes. There we go. As long as everybody knows.
And here is your fearless leader, Alberta Hemsley.
All right, very good.
Okay. We give it to, in the back, to Bonnie. Bonnie has an announcement. Bonnie has an announcement. The microphone's coming back to you, Bonnie. Here's Bonnie with the hats, pussy hats.
I'm making calls mostly on main drags to put signs for judges in yards. But if any of you are interested in having judges' signs in your yards, come see me at the end and I'll get your address and they will magically appear. That's it.
There you go, give them your address and man, you can have them. I've got a whole load on my lawn. Here we go, thank you.
Does anybody need AFTAB yard signs? I'll go get some and bring them. Oh, okay, fine.
Okay. Who's that with an announcement? Here we go, give it to Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Myers. I'm chair of the Cincinnati Women's Political Caucus. I've already announced that tonight we have a meeting on win or lose what comes next at the First Unitarian Church at 7 p.m. and it's about what's coming at us from our legislature between the election and January 1st when hopefully new people take over. So I hope I'll see you there tonight. But what I really want to announce tonight for the first time is this, our annual post-election wrap-up meeting will take place on Monday, November 19th at the First Unitarian Church. This is where we discuss exactly what happened in this election, why some campaigns were successful, why others were not, and what it might mean for 2019 and beyond. We have a panel of journalists. It includes Sharon Coolidge, who were a reporter for the Cincinnati Enquirer, Jeff Hirsch, reporter for Local 12 TV, and Howard Wilkinson, political analyst for WVXU. So all the major media outlets are represented, and it usually is one of the most insightful and even fun evenings we have every year. We typically get 50 to 60 people because it's so insightful, and because so many of our people are so interested in elections. Great questions, the reporters love it, we love it, so hopefully I have copies of the flyer for that event if anybody wants, and I can give them out later, or you can just come and get one when you're ready, but it's always a lot of fun. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Nice to have you here, Barbara. Peter, make your thing.
That's right. Anyone who is not getting the newsletter at present, please fill out this card. I need both your full name and a legible email address.
Legible, really.
From last week, I have something that starts out CHM or IS and no name that comes with it. And then if Nancy Stevens is here, she gave me her mailing address, but I have no email address, so I just need to get this straightened out. But in any case, I have cards if anyone doesn't get the newsletter and would like to get it.
Here we go. Bill Messer.
I would just like to ask everybody to look behind their chairs and see whether or not they are creating enough space for people to move between the tables. And if they're not, just slide one way or the other, or in, or whatever, and see if that works.
Thank you.
And here is Martha.
I'll try it out.
Okay, this is not much, and you may already know about it, but Derek Bauman broke to my house when I asked I learned his phone number, I called him, he's working for the Democratic Party. He brought to my house these wonderful flyers about the judges. They are the best thing to share with your neighbors, and all it seems to me, they're very attractive flower. If I had enough, I'd give everybody a bunch, but I mean, he probably about 50 or 60, which I will use in my neighborhood. I'm going to go to all the Democratic homes in Paddock Hills. And you, of course, you need a copy of the homes. You need to know what homes you're going to. And so if you want to write down Derek's number, he would bring you these. He would help you work your neighborhood. If you want to write that down, he's at 262-0345. 262-0345. Derek Bauman. You may remember he ran for council.
Here we go. Make sure that Peter gets that.
If you are canvassing for AFTAB, this card is included in your packet. So that they have tons of them at the AFTAB office.
Okay. All right.
It's nice that they're running together. I think
So
that's
it.
really helpful. Hand it to the next person. Here we go. Susan.
Does anybody vote at the Rue de la Paix? I'm looking for volunteers to pass out things for judges on election day.
Rue de la Paix? Sounds like Paris. Okay, anybody else with the microphone? And without our children's services person here, we're going to go to Pastor Lesley Jones. I just want to tell you about Pastor Lesley Jones. I went to her and I said, I want to get some stuff out, and she says, I'll come with you. I went, wow, that is so cool. And she did. And it was one of those hot and sweaty days, the miserable days when it felt like 106. And it was very humid, and the two of us were sweating. I mean, it was really amazing. And she helped me along the way, and it took us half the time, and we did my first round. I have to tell you, Pastor, that I have finished every house in my precinct for the first time. And I will go back. And I have on the table the sample ballot. And I want you to know how to get your sample ballot. And if you don't know how to get your sample ballot, get it. Take my instructions home. You go to the Board of Elections and your city, whatever it is. If you don't know what it is, if it's not Hamilton County, by all means just go to Google and go Hamilton, Google Board of Elections, whatever county you're in. And they will give you a sample ballot. It's available now. And you can get it for your precinct. And it's very specific, and it gives you all the little people, the important people, like your state representative and your state senator. It's really, we really need to get these people back. So make sure you get them. And if you don't need that piece of paper, leave it for me, because I tell you, I'm going to get it out the 3rd and 4th weekends in October. I'm going to go back. I did get 4 more people registered to vote. And I'm going to the last naturalization ceremony this Thursday. For whatever reason, they moved it from a Friday to a Thursday. And I'm going to go, and then we're all filled up, but I just want you to know that I'm going to be over 700 people registered to vote this year. I feel like... Okay, I think we're going to... You have an announcement?
One, please.
Go for it.
Okay, how's everybody doing today? I love this group. It's always good to see everybody. After the election, between the election and January 1st, I'm going to collect, I guess we would call personal narratives of how people went from thinking about political action to action. So the working title is Thought to Action. And I've been named the contributing editor, and we're going to have a collection of stories from people like you, I would hope. So I'll have more there'll be more substantive instructions and all that. But we'll open that up after the election day, and the deadline, I think, will be January 1st. And if you want to write a story, feel free. I know the editor, so I think I can get you in. Okay, there we are.
You're the editor, right?
That's correct.
Well, know thyself.
Okay, I'm looking forward to actually writing a piece for that. I'm looking forward to that because
And November.
I've been looking forward for almost 2 years for this. Almost 2 years, ever since that election in 16. And I'm only more encouraged since Judge Kavanaugh came up. Oh, my heart goes out to those folks. So, and here we have, get out the vote with Pastor Lesley Jones. Amazing person.
Thanks. I said to Alberta when I came in, I said, have your ears been burning and itching? Because I've been talking about her everywhere I've been going. Because she is the epitome of what it means to be involved. Just determined to knock every door in her precinct. And so I had no problem when she said, I want to go do this, I'll go do it with you. And if you call me, I'll come and I'll do it with you.
34th weekends in October.
She's already given me a calendar, so I definitely will come out and do whatever I can. So everybody kind of knows my name, Lesley Jones. If you don't know, I was a council candidate in 2017. I came in 12th, and I am looking forward to 2021 to run again for Cincinnati City Council. And right now, I am operating the capacity of the constituency, particularly African American constituency, and others, doing outreach for the campaign for Ohio. So I heard someone said, I'm glad to see that you're coordinating. So while I do work on AFTAB's campaign, I work on every other campaign as well, doing some coordination and connections. And so actually right around the corner here on Reading Road, at 5020 Reading Road, there's a Hook's Fish right next to it. That is our office. That also we share that with all the campaigns, and that many of you know that was Cedric Denson is there as well, his office. So we're there at 5020. We have yard signs, we have lit, we do phone banking and canvassing out of there. So as we ramp up actually for Get Out the Vote, I'm supposed to be in a training right now that started at 10 o'clock. And it was mandatory for me to be there, and I said, no, I can't. Because the last time I was supposed to be here, they called and said, you gotta come to Columbus for this mandatory training. And I said, no, okay, I'll reschedule. So I rescheduled for today. And I said, I'm not gonna reschedule. These people are far too important for me to miss being there with them at Blue Gibbon. So I want you to know that you took precedent. Now I might have to hear some stuff later, but it's okay.
We are more mandatory.
That's right. You're the mandatory of the mandatory, right? So when we say get out the vote, I want you to say power of 10. I'm going to say get out the vote, and you say power of 10. Get out the vote.
Power of 10.
Get out the vote.
Power of 10.
Get out the vote.
Power of 10.
So scientists tell us that we have a circle of influence of about 10 people. In other words, there are 10 people within an arm's length reach that we can reach out to, we can talk to. And so when we multiply 10, they called me so fast I didn't get to count everybody in here. But I think we're at least about 40 maybe. Okay, so if we think about the power of 10, right? Immediately that jumps to 400. And then if those 10 people talk to 10 more people, that jumps to 4,000, right? And so before you know it, we have created a wave of people. And that is what we're gonna do in order to get out the vote. We're kicking off a bus tour on this Saturday, right over on Reading Road at 5020 Reading Road. We have a bus that's been wrapped, and we have candidates that are going to get on the bus. And we are going to be taking them around to various communities. They're going to be going to first we're starting with a beauty and barber tour. So we're going to beauty shops and barber shops, and we're going to be talking at a couple of them. We do have round tables that'll be set up, and we have the power of social media. So at each one of the stops we'll also be videoing this, and we're going live on Facebook, and of course we've got I call it my Twitter crew. I've got a Twitter crew, an Instagram crew, and a Snapchat crew. So they all have different things that they're doing, and they'll be taking pictures and tweeting and things like that while we're doing this. We're doing that because it creates the buzz. We have to give people something to talk about. Someone asked me, well, how do we do what they did in Georgia, what they did in Alabama? Here's the deal. It's all about timing and momentum, and right now we've got some timing that we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about things that we want to see changed in Washington. We need to talk about the things we want changed at every level of government. And as we talk about those things to those 10 people that we know, they're going to go talk about it to 10 more people. And as they bring out, so what we're asking you to do is make a commitment of 10, to talk to 10 people about going to vote. Take 10 people to the polls. Get 10 people registered to vote. We have until October 9th, and there are people in pockets. And I want you to know something. It's amazing because this thing is flipping to all communities. Yesterday, I had a young man who's Nepalese, he's from Nepal, come into our office at Reading Road and say, I want to register my people. And I thought, well, okay. I wasn't sure yet who his people were. But I said, okay, so let's sit down, let's talk. And we talked, and he gave me some numbers. He told me that there are over 15,000 people from Nepal that are between Green Township, Coleraine, Mount Airy, and all the way out to Hamilton and Fairfield. I said, are these people citizens? He said, the majority of them are. He said, and then many of them have been in this country for a long time. We have a lot of older people in our community that have been here for a long time. They have never registered to vote and never participated because people have not taken the time to talk to them. So that's where it is. We've got to talk to them. And another woman called me this morning from Mason. Almost the same line. I want to register my people. Well, who are your people? And she says, well, I'm in a Muslim community. And we don't want that one guy. She wouldn't even say his name. We don't want that one guy. And I said, well, how did you get my number? She said, my nephew. He works at the Hooks Fish next to you, and you go in and talk to him, and you took him information, and I told him I want to help him. I gave them over 100, they got like 100 registration forms, right? That they're up there registering people to vote, and they're talking. The key to getting people to go to the polls is to talk to them. And so one of the things that our society does not do a good job at, and that is speaking to people. I make people jump out their skin. I'm in the grocery store. I don't know you, but I walk up to you and say, hi, how you doing today? And they look at me like, this lady is really speaking. Yeah. And I say, hey, you know, it's election coming up. Are you registered to vote? And I go through grocery stores, through the mall, at the gas station. I have registered people at the pump. Well, here, let me hold that while I'll pump your gas while you fill this out. No problem. Right? If we're not excited about it, no one else is going to be excited about it. I'm excited about it. I'm a pastor. I stand in front of people every single Sunday. And then there's probably about another 200 people that are watching me on Facebook Live every Sunday. And every Sunday since about March, we have done voter registration. We have talked about voting. We have done something to let people know this is serious. We've got to do this. And so if you're not excited again, they won't be excited. So are we fired up? Yeah. Are we ready to go? Yeah. What are we going to do? The power of 10. We're going to talk to 10 people, right? I say get out the vote. What? Power of 10. Get out the vote. Power of 10. Get out the vote. Power of 10. The power of 10 is how we're going to do it. We've got a strategy. We've got events for you to come to. Saturday is our kickoff. If you can come and you can be out there just to say good luck to those candidates that are going to come and get on that bus, to say good luck to those people that are going to go out and knock doors Saturday morning, 10 a.m. at 5020 Reading Road. We're going to be there. I've got a sign-up sheet. Would love for you to sign up and just stop by and be able to just give some encouragement, take a few voter registrations yourself and go out and make it a day. If we all go and get, we have to, every minute counts. Every little minute counts. So let's go and talk to people. And then we're going to be having party at the polls. We're going to do a party at the polls. We've got permission to use the parking lot across the street. We're going to set up a stage. We're now in conversation with the radio stations about doing live broadcasts. Actually, from there, bringing out some radio personalities to be out there with us. Have some. We're going to have a grill, and I told them we cannot call it a barbecue because they are not going to have any ribs or chicken. I said that's not a barbecue. That's not. But we're going to have some food. We're going to have a grill out. We are going to have some food. We'll have hot dogs, hamburgers, chips, things like that. But when I say, but when somebody tell me to invite me to the barbecue. Don't invite me, y'all, to the barbecue if y'all don't have some ribs, some rib tips, some chicken, some potato salad, or something, right? So we're going to be partying at the polls on the 27th, October 27th, which is a Saturday of early vote, and also November 3rd and 4th. We also have a plan where we're talking within the African American community and in faith communities. And I like to say faith communities because it goes beyond the black church. We have some imams, we have some others, we have some rabbis. So within the faith community, we're having a breakfast with them, and we're actually sitting down and saying, let's plan your get out the vote. What is your get out the vote plan? How are you going to talk to your congregation? We're working with some other groups that have commit cards that are specifically designed for communities of faith, for them to ask that question and to then get that information back so that we can then go out and get them to the polls. We're going to have at least, our goal is to have about 5 vans that will actually be going around in the neighborhoods. And I call this kamikaze old school. I have a bullhorn and a truck. And I'm going to sit on the back of the truck with the bullhorn, and we're going to be blasting it out throughout the neighborhoods. It is voting time. Come on out, vote, get on the bus. We're going to be talking. I mean, we have to create the momentum. And so when we create the momentum, people will get on board. And that's how they did it. They created momentum. Here's the last thing I'll say. If you don't have a yard sign and everybody on your street don't have a yard sign with our candidates on it, you need to get a yard sign in that yard. If you're going through common thoroughfares and you see somebody's yard sign and you don't see our yard signs out there, put them out there. When I say our, I'm talking about our whole Democratic ticket. We can't just be excited about one candidate. We've got to be excited about the entire ticket. Because if we don't get the entire ticket in, then we're going to miss out someplace. So let's get the entire ticket in. So you got to get excited about all that. So what are we going to do? We're going to talk to people. We're going to ask them questions. We're going to talk to at least 10 people. We're going to register 10 people. And we're going to get out the vote. We're going to knock on doors. Make sure you ask them, you go to vote, what's your plan? Are you going to vote early? Are you going to go on election day? Hey, do you need me to pick you up? And don't forget, we still have absentee ballots. Absentee ballots. Now I was told that they have a request now is over 10,000 more than what it's been in previous years for absentee ballots. So we're doing a great job on that. Come on, we need to clap about that because the opposition doesn't want us to do that. We need to clap and be excited about that we are doing the work. And so that's what we want you to do. So our ask to you today is to talk to 10 people, register 10 people, take 10 people to the polls. All right? All right? Wait a minute. Y'all know I'm a preacher. In the black church, they talk back. Or the preacher keeps going. So when I say, are we going to do it? You got to talk back. We going to do it? All right, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, back here.
Actually, comment. I do the same thing you do in grocery stores and etc. However, did you know you can register people from your phone?
Yes.
It's turbovote.org. And what?
Ohio Unity Coalition also is another place to
You can register people from your phone. We just held, actually in churches, in faith communities, we just did a Souls on the Rolls Sunday where we had everybody, we went around the churches and we asked them to actually take out their cell phone during the worship service and check to see if they're registered to vote. I know at the church that I was at Corinthian Baptist Church, and I registered 15 people after that service because they checked and their names were not on the polls. Just this past Sunday in my own congregation, we checked and I had people who voted. They said they voted in the primary and their name did not come up. ohvotes.org or iwillvote.org. You can check. Yes. Are you twins?
No, you mean the hair?
Oh, you just kind of favor. I thought maybe.
No.
Oh.
Well, we could be maybe. Who knows? I was at a meeting of the faith group on Reading Road.
Faith Community Alliance.
Yes. Someone brought up the fact that that there's been incidents where people who do the absentee ballots, the following election, they take their names are not on their on the voting list.
Yes, I've heard that, and that's why we've been checking. So we ask people, and the best thing I can tell you is to check for them at ohvotes or iwillvote.org, and if it's not there, have them register. And some people are anxious about, well, what if I register again? It won't take your name off the rolls if you're already on there and you register, if you're not sure or they have a concern about that. I haven't heard any great detail about that, but I have heard that story too.
Yeah, it's a bit disturbing.
Well, I just had a man who told me he went to his polling location to vote and his name was there, but it wasn't the address that he was at, and he's been living in the same place for over 35 years. And they would not let him vote. They gave him a provisional ballot, and he lives out in the Skyline Acres area. Well, I looked it up, and his name showed up at his current address that he's been at for 35 years. But the last presidential election, they made him vote a provisional ballot.
Thank you for all you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you.
What's the name of your church?
Truth and Destiny,
Where is it?
United Church of Christ, in Mount Airy, right next to the water tower, which we are saving.
Yes. What day is the bus tour?
The bus tour is this Saturday, October 6th at 10 a.m. and we'll kick off at 10 a.m. at 5020 Reading Road.
1520 or 50?
55020. And our bird is taking the mic.
Let's hear it for Pastor Lesley Jones. Makes me want to get on the vote. The second part of our program today is another one, a person talking about children's services. And now her name is Jan-Michele Lemon Kearney. She's a publisher with the Cincinnati Herald. I am a subscriber to the Cincinnati Herald. If you want to see the Cincinnati Herald, I have 2 copies back there that I'm going to share. This latest one was really interesting because it has all of the people who you're supposed to vote for. Well, and some of them that you shouldn't, but it has, at least it gives you and puts some pressure on you to kind of go out and find out what's happening. So, without further ado, Jan-Michele Lemon Kearney from the Cincinnati Herald.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. So I am the publisher of the Cincinnati Herald, and I'm one of the, I'm sorry. And I'm one of the co-chairs of Issue 9, Vote Yes on Issue 9 for the Children's Services Levy. You probably already know a lot about it, but let me just assume you don't, so I can just go through my spiel, and then we can talk about it. And I always start by telling people, I have 2 children. One is 14, and my daughter, so my son is 14, my daughter is 21 years old. Now, in their lifetime, there has never been an increase in the Children's Services Levy. The last increase was in 1996. Oh, okay. How's that? You know, you can't tell up here if you're coming, your voice is coming out there or not. Is it, I should move? Okay. Stage directions up here. Okay, thank you. So the last increase was in 1996. That's 22 years ago. It's a long time. And yet the numbers are increasing. Last year, the Children's Services Levy funded services for abused and neglected children for more than 20,000 children, more than 20,000 children. And that's an increase of, something about 5,000 children from the year before that. And the numbers are rising and rising and rising. Also, the costs are rising, not surprisingly. In 22 years, costs have gone up. Services cost more. It costs, foster care has gone up. Adoption has gone up. Treatment programs have gone up. Everything is increasing, but the Children's Services Levy was not. And so now we're at a point where we really need this bridge levy, and this is just a slight increase, and we'll talk about the amount in a minute. But people are wondering, well, why are there more children who need services now? You've heard a lot about the heroin and the opioid crisis. Heroin is an opioid, but in general, I mean, there are also other opioids like fentanyl and oxycodone and all kinds of opioids out there. And you hear about the crisis. You hear that there are more users, and so there are more children being affected. But there are also two other factors, and one is untreated mental illness, and another one is domestic violence. And so for those three main reasons, children sometimes have to be removed from the home, often temporarily, for their own safety, and the parents need help, the parents need treatment. So some of the services that the Children's Services Levy provides include, and these are just a few, domestic violence counseling, substance abuse counseling, parenting classes, child care, medical aid, food assistance. You hear about hungry children, children who don't have enough to eat. I mean, it's just hard to even wrap my mind around that, and it's so prevalent. Also, as I mentioned, foster care, adoption, there are many more. Now, the levy funds some government agencies and also some private agencies. For example, Hamilton County Jobs and Family Services, the Mental Health Board, Juvenile Court Services, those receive funds to help abused and neglected children. Also, there are private agencies, many private agencies. You've heard of Talbert House, you've heard of Lighthouse Youth Services, Beach Acres Parenting Center, and also many more. No one wants to take children out of the home, but sometimes children are at danger, and so the temporary placement is very, very important. It is important that children are kept safe and that their families receive the services that they need. And so for that reason, we ask you to vote yes on issue 9. Ohio, I should mention, has the lowest funding of children's services for the entire 50 states, which is pretty horrible. But I think you know that Hamilton County has one of the highest opioid problems of the entire country. So something's not right there with those numbers. We obviously need funding here, and we definitely want to support issue 9. There are federal and state laws that mandate services for children. So some people say, what happens if there is no levy, if the voters say, we're not going to support children's services at all? Well, the money would have to come from the Hamilton County General Fund, which means that, tens of millions of dollars that now go to other services and programs would have to be cut. So it's really important that we support issue 9. Our children need it. And the amount that's being asked is really small. It's 1.98 mil increase, which if you have a $100,000 house, it's less than actually $6 per month. So it's like $69 per year. So it's really not a lot, and it's a small increase, definitely worth it, definitely needed to help our children. So I'm here to ask you to vote yes on issue 9, vote yes for the Children's Services Levy. Thank you.
I'm a great believer in yard signs. I have a little more space left. Do you have any yard signs for this? Because I think that helps a lot.
Yes, we do have yard signs. I don't know if we have them today, but does anyone know, do we have yard signs here today for the Children's Services Levy? They usually drop them off. So I will find out how to get them. I guess everybody's on the same email. So we'll figure that out. I'll ask them to actually send out an email. Oh, that would be perfect. Okay, well, there are yard signs. I actually have one. So maybe I should have stopped by the office. That might be my fault. Maybe I was supposed to stop by the office to get it, but to get them. So, okay. Well, we'll make sure we tell you where they are. Any other questions? Okay, well.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, and please encourage your neighbors and your friends. As Lesley said, register. Get registered to vote. October 9th is the deadline, and encourage everyone to vote yes on issue 9. Thank you. Oh, we have the Herald coming up. Okay.
About anything else?
Oh, I don't.
Pick another topic.
Well, I don't have another topic to talk about. One, because as I said, I'm the publisher for the Herald, and we're actually laying out the paper as I speak. So I was told 2 minutes, so maybe I misunderstood. I thought, I think I've taken up more time than I had. But, so you can talk amongst yourselves, right? You can. Okay. You don't need me to entertain. I mean, I could sing and all that, but you're not going to want to hear that. Dan knows I can't sing. Okay, yes. Oh, okay. We've got visual aids here. Thank you so much. All right, so the Cincinnati Herald is a weekly African-American newspaper. It started in 1955. The publisher and the founder was Gerald Porter. His wife was Marjorie Parham. Marjorie Parham turned 100 years old on February 12th. She's doing great. She moved to a retirement community. I think this is so funny. She moved to a retirement community just in case she needed assisted living, but at this point she doesn't. So she still lives independently and often shows up at events and parties and all that. So amazing. Yeah, she's
That's why I got the paper.
Oh, great! I'll tell her that. Yes. So she's very feisty. So we are. I think we're the only publication that actually endorses issues at this point. But we are endorsing issue 9. Donnie.
Isn't it $35 a year?
The subscription for the Herald generally is $30 per year. So we always say it's a great gift because you get it once a week and you can give it to a friend and they think about you every week for only $30. It's also a newsstand at Kroger's and Walgreens, UDF's, gas stations. You'll find it all over.
Free.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. The picture here is Michelle Obama, and it says, "Hey Lynn, are you registered to vote?" I mean, it kind of brings you in. Really, I haven't seen. Yeah, so she's talking to Lynn Manuel, the producer of So when we all vote, Michelle Obama is one of the co-chairs of that campaign. It's a bipartisan campaign to do just what Lesley was saying, get out the vote. And when she said, "Hey Lynn, are you registered?" she's talking to the producer of Hamilton, Lynn Manuel. He's also a co-chair. So you'll probably see PSAs on television about it. So.
Can I give this to somebody?
Can I give this to somebody? Please. Pass it down. The one who gets it, gets it.
Let's auction it off.
There you go. We have 15 minutes left. Any special ideas for getting people out to vote? Do a sale. Do a sale. Here we go.
I'd just like to say that on October 17th, the Women's City Club is sponsoring a forum with detailed discussion on all of the city charter amendments. It's called Charting Our Future, and we will have information on everything on the ballot. But the primary topic for the night, we've got David Mann and Greg Linsman and other folks talking, but we'll go over each one of the charter amendments at 7 o'clock. Doors open at 6:30 at First Unitarian Church.
536 Linden Street, just off Reading, south of Martin Luther King.
Have you given your information to Peter?
I will do that.
We need to get the information.
On Wednesday, October 17th.
Could you repeat the first part? I missed the first part.
It's a Women's City Club program discussing each of the charter issues. There are 5 charter amendments on the ballot.
There's 6.
6, sorry. And it's confusing. So we're having a discussion and people talking about the pros and cons of each one on Wednesday, the 17th, at the First Unitarian Church. And I'll give the information to you.
And that dots the I.
Hi, I'm new. I'm new to Cincinnati also.
Nina.
Nina, right. And I received a text from a friend of mine in Miami, which is Florida, which is where I'm from. And the headline is from the Miami Herald. Florida, it's 10 times more likely that ballot won't count. And it's talking about mail-in ballots. And I think the number was 28,000 ballots were not counted because people didn't know that they signed the ballot incorrectly. And though somebody tried to contact them, they never got through, so their ballots were thrown out. And it says in this article that the study also found that mail ballots cast by the youngest voters, blacks and Hispanics, were much more likely to be rejected than the mail ballots cast by white voters. So
Amazing.
and this is in Miami, Florida, where the voting is very, very close. It's a little bit different. And right now it's almost tied, especially with our senator, well, with the senator I left behind. And so I think, oh, which one? Oh, for sure. No doubt about it. So I think it's really important we make sure that our ballots will be counted. Either we have to physically go, or we have to make sure. I don't know if there's a tracking method here. In Florida, there's a tracking method where you can track your ballot. So if there's a tracking method, that would be great.
On October 10th, which is the first day that you can vote, I will go over to the Board of Elections, which is 4700 Smith Road. It's in back of the shopping center in Norwood. And it's right there, and I will make sure that my vote counts, because I'm going to go over there and vote in person the first day. Yes?
I was just going to say, when you vote in person, you're basically filling out an absentee ballot and putting it in a box there.
Yes.
It's the same ballot, you put it in the same envelope, you seal it and sign it the same way. And it's counted at the same time as other absentee ballots. So again, the important thing is, what you're saying is, make sure you fill that out right. Make sure you sign where you're supposed to sign and put the information in where it says you have to fill in 1 or 2 of these boxes. If you don't do that, it won't get counted.
Now, you have to understand that in my particular precinct, we vote in the New Prospect Baptist Church, along with 4 precincts of Cincinnati. I am never sure that it gets to the right place.
Right.
Because I just feel like they have a tendency to lose our little democratic place. Yes?
I just want to add on, making sure you fill it out properly. If you've got any question and you're not sure about what you should do, check with one of the elections officials. They will tell you, you need to do this and don't do that, just to make sure. But you have to sign your name exactly the way you registered to vote. That's probably the most important thing.
No problem.
I don't know if they still do it, but usually there is one Republican and one Democrat who accompany the ballots to the Board of Education to ensure that there's no hanky-panky.
Right.
But I don't know if that's still, it still is, Barbara said.
I just have a little family story that I think is kind of hopeful I'd like to share. We're a very liberal family. My oldest son, my daughter, my husband and I, raging liberals. We have one son who is totally apolitical. He and his wife hardly watch the news, okay? Their oldest son is 18, his first year at UC, And he came to a family gathering over the weekend and said, you know, first time to vote. I think I'm going to vote for that AFTAB guy. I really like the way he looks. And as I look, I think I'm going to follow the whole Democratic ticket, and I'm going to make sure Mom and Dad do too.
How are we doing?
8 more minutes to fill.
4 minutes to fill.
8 more minutes.
Rebecca, Martha.
I wonder, what I'm hearing today, is this election, are the elections right now being even more rigged than they had been? I don't think we have free elections by a long shot. There are all kind of ways to suppress votes. But what I'm hearing, has anyone studied that? Are they finding ways? Finding ways to keep people from voting a vote that will count.
Gerrymandering.
Well, sure, but I mean.
Spasibo. Thank you.
I taught political science for 35 years at the political science department, and all the studies have shown that people have been trying to game the system since time immemorial. The difference today is people are getting better and better at it, and frankly, all of the technology is frankly making it more difficult to not be able to game the system. Back in the old days, you know, the old paper ballot and writing everything in or whatever, it was probably, you were less likely to be able to game the system than today. So it's not that people haven't tried before and been pretty good at it, but today is that the technology allows for people to do a more thoroughgoing job of doing it. So we all have to be alert. It's our responsibility to be alert to what can go wrong and make sure we're not part of that.
Is it better or worse? I'm not following you.
Oh,
Worse.
It's probably worse, but not because a lot of people have been doing it for a long time. Yes,
You're saying it is worse now.
but it is worse because of the technology, and then people because they talk about it more, the media discusses it more, we're more aware of all the different ways, and that discourages a lot of people who just want to say, oh, forget about it. And so that makes it worse too.
I don't understand why it's worse if it's electronic.
Well, it's for one thing, it's possible to hack a lot of the machines electronically. You can get into them and change what they record. But also, a lot of those machines were made by a company whose owner absolutely said, if I get enough of my machines around the country, I can give the election to the Republican. I don't know how.
That sounds like the conspiracy theory. No, it's actually.
No, it's true.
One of the problems is around the state, we happen to be one of the lucky counties, actually, because we have paper backup for our votes.
Right.
But most of the counties around the state of Ohio, their new electronic voting systems do not have paper backup. And without paper backup, if a vote gets lost, it's gone. There's nothing. So that's another way that electronic machines, can be a problem. Even if it's not somebody saying on purpose we're going to do something, things can still happen to votes, and most of them without the paper backup, there's no way to recapture. So we actually are lucky in that regard here in Hamilton County. Yeah.
Behind you.
And I think this is why it's very important that Kathleen Clyde gets elected.
That's right.
Because she has some election revisions that I think would move forward protecting. In other words, if you vote, you get a printout of your vote, an electronic machine. And there were lots of things that she wants to put in place. And of course, and she and the auditor, the state would be responsible for the gerrymandering revisions, which that court case, I don't know if you've seen it, has gone to court with a proposed redistricting. I don't know if you've seen that already, but it is out there. But we've got to get Kathleen Clyde elected.
Kathleen Clyde elected, and get your sample ballot out. Make sure you know what's on your ballot.
Well, when I hear of a man told us about it, Lesley, who goes to the poll, he's lived at the same place for 35 years, they don't have They say he hasn't listed his correct address. This kind of thing is what I'm asking about. I mean, my God. I've heard other stories sort of like that, so.
I think it's important to remember David Pepper's novel, published in 2016, anticipates a Russian oligarch messing with the machines in a certain part of Ohio. I mean, David has as full a knowledge of how voting happens in Ohio as anybody, and he goes into the way in which the machines can be hacked and set up, very subtle little tiny things organized for a particular neighborhood. So it is something we really need to be, I just back up what Katie said, we really, really need Catherine Clyde in there. There's nobody in the state legislature or state Republicans we can trust.
Start at the bottom of the ballot with your local, all the judges and the state representative and your state senate representative.
If anybody's interested in working the polls for voter protection, in other words, it's a paid position that you would be inside, let me know, and I can get you on the list of folks that that we will be paying for that day in each one of the precincts, so that they have, somebody can go and they can talk to them. So if you're interested, let me know.
And don't forget, another thing the Russians figured out is ahead of the voting, all the misinformation and the fake websites and all of that that are affecting what people think, what they think they know, and how they're going to vote. It's a mess right now.
That's why I think my ballot going out from my precinct is really important for my people. So do the same for yours, or something like it. Yes?
There's a author called Craig Pallas, and he's written a lot for years about how there's how to fix the elections and how they have been rigged around and fixed and everything, such as less voting, less places to vote in certain neighborhoods over other neighborhoods, such as telling people the wrong day to vote on, sending postcards to people's houses, and if the postcard comes back, then that person is thrown off voter rolls. There are a lot of different ways that they can control the vote. So that's why they keep on telling us, as Democrats, to go out and vote, because we have to vote I heard somewhere, I could be wrong, 8 times as many people going out to vote than normal, in order to make sure that we combat all these tricks that are played on us. And by the way, gerrymandering goes all the way back to the beginning of this country. It's named after a guy that signed the the Constitution, so it's been there for a while.
Governor of Maine.
Governor of Massachusetts.
I know this happened here, I forget the years, but I was going door to door over by the zoo telling people that voting had not changed, because they were telling people that it was the next day or the next week or something like that. It happened here. Anybody else know about that?
How do I know if we have a precinct captain in my precinct? How do I know if there's a precinct captain in my precinct, and who that person is?
I'll be happy to give you the number, Caleb Fox.
A Democratic headquarters. He has a list of every single precinct and precinct exec.
He has an email.
He has the email.
I wrote Caleb about my precinct. Who's my captain? Well, he writes me back, you don't have one. Can you do it? I said, I can't really do it. I don't drive much. I will cover my neighborhood, both sides of Paddock Road. I want to cover everything. I'll go down Tennessee, but I can't do Bond Hill and all too. No, I can't. And so we don't have a captain.
But there are ways for other people to be called in to help with that.
Yes.
there are things that Caleb can do to make sure that there's a precinct captain.
And I'd like to remind everybody, speaking of gerrymandering, about the talk that Dan Zavon gave to us about PR and proportional representation. He's been talking to senators and congressmen and city council candidates and their aides for months and months, and they're beginning to think about it. It's a really important change to the system, but it is a sea change. It's a complete change to the system, but it would make the system work better.
In the meantime, we need to get everybody out to vote, because every vote that we get to the vote is more likely to count. We've got to get the vote out.
In case it counts.
You've been a great audience again this week. You are fabulous. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for being here. Thank you.